Good morning, everyone. Jeff Griffin, Peoria Area Chamber of Commerce President, and thank you for joining us on Chamber Chat. We're going live Facebook video this morning here at PeoriaLife.com. Our guest today, great friend of mine. I say that, I don't know if he agrees, but he's been a great friend of mine since I landed in Peoria.
Absolutely.
Kevin Kokinda, who I've known from the chamber world since I arrived here, has a new venture. Kevin has founded Resumedics. He's the founder, CEO, owner of Resumedics, and we're here to talk about that today. We're also Tim's beta test, and whoever testing me on the live Facebook, that if there's questions you guys have, we might be able to get to those and so forth. And we know we have some jokesters out there, and we can address that, because Kevin and I always like to have a good time, whether we're working or playing. But I want to get some work accomplished here, because Resumedics is a great new venture, and I want everyone to learn about it.
Well, just be kind to me. I have only had one cup of coffee so far this morning.
So Resumedics, level set, what got you going on this to launch this as a full-time career now?
Well, I used to work at the Journal-Star for almost 7 years, and during that time you start to talk to a lot of different people. Now, I've always been doing this sort of part-time since it was All Right Local Resumes back about 10 years ago, so a lot of folks might still know it as All Right. But I decided about a year and a half ago that the more people that I started doing this for, the more word of mouth started getting out there, and it finally started to morph into something a lot bigger. So I decided that All Right Local Resumes sounds like something that you're sitting at your coffee table in your living room, doing.
On your typewriter.
Resumedics, it just kind of has a more all-encompassing name to it, and I like the flow of it. So awesome. I just decided that it was something that I wanted to do more full-time. I needed to have something that was going to sound better.
Right. So I remember, I was sharing this with my coworkers at the chamber before coming down here. I remember the day that in college, I had to get my resume ready. I hand wrote it out. I'm not dating myself too much, but I think I am. This is back in the early 90s even.
Oh, yeah.
Hand wrote it out and took
Hand wrote.
Well, I was lazy too. I was lazy. This is just Jeff Griffin. Don't aspire to for that. And I would take it to a place, and they'd put it all together with the fonts and everything. Boom. But this is not that. This is we have LinkedIn now. We have internet, and people are maybe wondering, well, what do I need Resumedics for? I'm already on LinkedIn. I already have a resume. So it's more than just the fonts and the typeset. What is the service?
Well, what I like to call it is a new way to resume. And what I mean by that is that the culture has changed a lot over, 20 years. Like, I graduated from Bradley in 1995, and resumes were typed out on a computer. They were put on a 3.5-inch floppy. You were also printing it out on nice, crisp resume stock, and you were mailing it out to people. And then you kind of got into the email. So now you can take your PDF and you can email it to the decision maker. Well, now you fast forward into, 2017, 2018, and I mean everything now. It's Indeed, it's ZipRecruiter, it's Monster Jobs, LinkedIn, recruiters. So it's now that all-encompassing one resume that you used to just send out to everybody. Well, the landscape has changed. Now people want, something that's tailored to every single position, and you have to make sure that if you want your phone to ring, you've got to get past those applicant tracking systems, which are robotic systems out there that companies use, and then there's hundreds of different ones that are out there. And now you have to get over that gatekeeper before you even get to a human set of eyeballs anymore.
Right. So this is a perfect example. I don't do a lot of hiring. We have a small staff right now, but we do some. And recently had a job, and I'd get some resumes in and only mailed to me, and some hand delivered and other ways. But it's not that complex of a filtration system with only having 7 employees. But give me an example of like a specific example of how my resume could get hung up if I'm applying for some job on Indeed or LinkedIn without it being properly sent?
Well, that's a great question, Jeff. And the first thing that I tell my clients is relevancy. The number one reason that people come to me and they say, well, I feel like I'm qualified, I got all this experience, but I don't, my phone's not ringing.
Yeah.
Well, I take one look at what they have on there, and first off, the format is all wrong. They've got everything center alignment, and they've got all this fancy templates on there. Well, an ATS system works off algorithms. I mean, it might not even be able to read a template or columns or stuff like that. So you really got to dumb it down for these systems. But the other thing is that I always tell folks, you're so hyped up upon what you've done, but what's the position asking for? What are the basic qualifications? What are the preferred qualifications? How much of that do you have on your resume? Because, a lot of people nowadays know what keywords are when it comes to resumes. So it's something that people are more and more familiar with. But what I find is that there are not a lot of folks out there that are taking the time to make sure that the company's needs are somewhere positioned on your qualifications.
Right. I think what happened, at least in my case over the years, when you've seen a job, you want to apply for it, you look at the job, man, I'd be really good at that job, and you throw your resume out there. But you don't have a third party or another person setting eyes on and giving you critical feedback on what it needs to be. And that's what this service is. So tell us, how do people get in touch with Resumedics? What does it look like if you have a client call you and say, hey, Kevin, need some help on resume? What's the first step? How do they find you?
Well, my service is unique in the fact that we offer face-to-face consultation if you want it. It's part of your service, no matter if it's an entry-level resume or if it's senior-level CEO resume. Basically, the individual reach out to me on our website, localresumewritingsite.com. They can call 309-453-5261. And then from there, a lot of times if you have an old resume, send it over. I'll take a look at it. And then from there, we can set up a time to meet or go over it via phone or email, and whatever works, because nowadays people might work first shift, second shift, weekends. So what's cool is that I can meet with individuals, in the evening. I can meet with them on a Saturday or a Sunday, which is really helps with their schedules.
Sure.
But the other thing is that basically it's just about setting up that face-to-face, because they'll have a lot of direction and they might not know where they want to go with it. So, by providing a little career coaching with it, it's also part of the process. So the actual counseling of it, I think, is more valuable than in the end than the finished product.
So you see, and this is what I always love and find fascinating. We're talking about is a service Resumedics offers, Kevin's an expert in, of how to address online hiring in this world. But where does it all start? At a local coffee shop or face-to-face with someone you trust, right?
That's right.
That's where it needs to start. And in addition to Resumedics, did you mention an email people could get in touch with?
They can just go to kevinkokinda@gmail.com. If they're on localresumewritingsite.com, my email is on there. So you can simply go on there and, reach out to me that way.
Right.
And, again, it's always free to send me whatever you have. I'd be more than happy to look at it. And, if you want to proceed further, then, we'll go ahead and proceed further.
And if you're around take advantage of those. Also, if you're around the Chamber of Commerce, if you drop one off or get it to me somehow, make sure Kevin gets eyes on it, and then he'll follow up with you for
Absolutely. And, I've also spent a lot of time talking to recruiters in the area, and I am looking at doing more with local recruiters to get their take on it as well, because as much as I spend researching stuff and analyzing the latest trends, at the end of the day, you've got a lot of recruiters out there that are trying to find very qualified candidates. And as you were talking about earlier, reaching out to them to say, what are your needs? What are you looking for on these resumes? Because, you've got certain industries out there, and I'll give you an example, medical device, where there's a completely different way that a recruiter might want this done. So by all means, I tell individuals, look, once I have this completed and you say, wow, this looks great, show it to the individual that might be out there trying to work with a particular company and get their feedback. There's never an additional charge to bring it back and have it done, particularly how that recruiter wants to see it, because if they're working with that individual or that company, they're going to want to have it done. They're going to know the way they want it.
Right.
No problem. Send it back, and I'll go ahead and make sure at the end of the day, 100% satisfied.
Right.
That's what it,
100% satisfaction.
100%.
Guaranteed.
100%. There's no pay half or I didn't really like, what you did, but can I only pay you half? No.
Right.
You don't pay me nothing. If you don't like it, you pay zilch. It's 100%
Guaranteed.
or it's free.
There you go. So we really want I want people to think about this in a different way.
I shoot myself by saying that.
You're a busy man. And a proven
Let's not
trusted
take advantage
local
of
guy.
that.
No. Kevin Kokinda. Yeah, just fax them over. Kevin Kokinda.
They're free.
Expert in this field. And something you said triggered with me. Resumedics, local resume writing consultation is why I'm looking at this, because if you're applying for a job, you're applying for that job. He's doing it every single day, all right, with the expertise. Much like maybe a real estate agent. People are like, well, I don't need a real estate agent. Well, they do it every day. They're going to help get you in the right house and get you the right stuff. And that piece you said, I wasn't even thinking about that. The feedback from the employers, you're bringing that to the table. That's phenomenal. So what are your initial clients looking like? All over the place? Recent college graduates, folks looking for a second, third, fourth, fifth career?
Well, it's
Anywhere
funny
in
because
between?
I get that, because especially this time of the year when you've got graduations going on, people think, oh, you're really busy with the colleges. But what's funny is that it's not the kids that are reaching out to me. It's about 6 months down the road when the parents are freaking out and they're saying, my son has been living in my basement for the last 6 months. He's still working at Arby's, and I don't know if he's, no offense to Arby's, but the parent is paid like, an absorbent amount of money for their kids to go to college, and it's like 6 months later, and they're still, waiting tables, or they're still, doing something that they should be doing. Well, it's the parents that freak out. They're the ones that are calling and saying, I got to get him out of the house or her out of the house. Here, go ahead and rewrite their resume, and that's huge. I get a lot of calls for that.
This is why I love entrepreneurship and small business, and people like Kevin Kokinda getting out there and doing what he loves. I wasn't thinking about that either.
Oh,
what a great, hey parents out there, what a great college graduation gift for your kid,
exactly,
or your godchild or whatever. Boom, a package at Resumedics for resume. Nothing subtle about that. Plus, it'll save on your grocery bill.
Well, here's what I tell them: when you're out there in the backyard, doing the catering and rolling out the kegs, when the hangover is done, you got, there's where you are out there, and the entry level positions that, you're now trying to get, you need to make sure that you have your, everything in order, before you turn that tassel the other way. I mean, seriously. And I think that, there are a lot of, writing centers and things like that that prepare, individuals to, write properly. But what I'm starting to find is that these universities are not giving these students the, talking to them about, self-content marketing, LinkedIn, and things like that. I look at some of the stuff in the critiques I get, and I'm like, that individual has told you to do this?
Yeah.
And yet, everybody out there, if you go out there and you see what best practices are with resume writing and these ATS sites anymore, it's like you're going to have this reformatted.
That system,
it's not. This isn't English composition. Nobody's going to fault you if you put the comma before the and, or maybe this is capitalized or that. I mean.
You need to get through the filtration system so it can be seen.
Now, I'm not saying that grammatic
don't matter.
It does. Don't get me wrong.
You got to be able to talk good.
Exactly, but you can't be too picky about how this is placed or that placed. It just it is really about the relevancy of the information that's on it, and don't fluff it with things like highly skilled or energetic or motivated. You know what? That stuff it's overplayed.
Yeah.
And, you got to stay away from the cliches anymore. People, they just don't, hiring managers don't want to see that.
What do you want to do?
Exactly. What have you done? How are you going to help my company?
Right.
And that's what I want to see. And sometimes you might have 15, 30 seconds for that individual to, go through it, gloss it before they decide,
See, when I was sending out resumes early, and we're completely out of time, but we're going a little over. When I was sending out resumes years ago, the thing that the tip you got to set you aside was use a little bit of a larger envelope. That way, when they stack them on your desk, yours sticks out. This is a whole different formatting here, man.
Exactly.
You need the electronic strategies to get your resume to where it belongs. Listen, folks, we could do another show altogether. Kevin Kokinda, great volunteer, great asset to the community, to the Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for all you do for us. And thank you guys for joining us on Chamber Chat at PeoriaLife.com. Hit them up with the website one more time, please.
localresumewritingsite.com. You can just type in Resumedics on Google, or you can call 309-453-5261. And Jeff, thank you very much for having me on today.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
You got it. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. We're over and out. See you next time. Good job, man.
PeoriaLife.com